Hi everyone, thank you for joining. We're just waiting for everybody to enter in. We'll give it just another minute or two. Okay, we're a little past 12:30 and our numbers seem to have stopped going up. So Patrick, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, so welcome everybody to Co-Founders Download. I'm just going to run you through a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. So the first thing I would ask is just in the beginning stage that everybody has their microphone muted, just in case of any construction works that might be happening in your home disrupting the meeting. Just going to give you a quick introduction to the people that are here today. So there's obviously myself, Patrick McIlvaine, we have Jacqueline McCann, and we have Hannah Cummings from the Co-Founders team. And we also have some of our alumni with us today. So from the Yellow Iron team, we have Lee Johnson and Donovan McKillen. And from Liam 44, we have Toya Warnock and Blaine Shaw. The format of the session, it's going to take roughly an hour. There will be a quick 15-minute presentation followed by a sort of a 30-minute Q&A group open plan sort of fireside chat with the Co-Founders alumni team, and after which we'll take your questions. What we're going to do is if you can just use the chat function and upload any questions you have throughout the duration of the event, we'll try and pick them up as we go along at appropriate times. If there's any questions that you would prefer to ask anonymously, feel free to message them to me directly. That's Patrick McIlvaine, and I'll ask them without stating your name if that is your preference. We've got a fairly tight schedule to get to, so I am just going to invite Hannah to share your screen, take it from here and begin the presentation.
Super, thank you very much. If you could just confirm for me, Patrick, that you can see my screen okay?
Yep, working fine.
Brilliant, thank you. So you're all here today, obviously, to hear about Co-Founders, but it would be remiss of me to not place that in the context of Catalyst. So I'm going to do a very, very brief overview on that, since I know kind of the meat of what you'll want to hear is all about Co-Founders. So what we do at Catalyst, to put it quite simply, is that we make it easier for you to innovate. And we do that through 3 different strands: research, places, and programs. So we have different locations, both in Belfast, Ballymena, and up in the Northwest. And we have different member companies who reside in those locations. And those range from startups right up to big companies like Citi, for example. We also then have research collaborations with Queen's, for example, and then we run a series of programs. Now, those programs are obviously where Co-Founders sits, and we are not-for-profit organisations, so any money we make from the tenants that we have at our different sites, we reinvest back into programs, for example, that can help support the Northern Ireland economy, and that is our focus. And you'll see with this range of programs, those at the bottom are those for very early stage ideas, and that's where Co-Founders sits. And we also then go right up to our programs with, say, Springboard and Weta-Scale, where companies are wanting to push kind of £10 million in revenue. So there's a really good support network there within Catalyst. Co-Founders then, as I said, sits within the early stage of that. And I think it's worth reflecting for a moment on what a co-founder is, because that's what the business of Co-Founders is all about. So a co-founder is a person who, in conjunction with 1 or 2 others, is instrumental in starting a business. And what that means in terms of where Co-Founder sits in Catalyst is that we provide an opportunity for you to engage in entrepreneurial experience. And that helps support the Northern Ireland economy, or we hope it helps to support the Northern Ireland economy in certain ways. One is the formation of new startups. First and foremost, that's what Co-Founders is all about, and that's what we want to support. And that in turn can help support then higher paying knowledge economy jobs here in Northern Ireland. We also want to help build a body of people with an entrepreneurial mindset. And we do that through the focus on design thinking that we run through the programme. And that, again, lets you, even if you don't move into a startup area, bring that skill set and that ability to innovate into whatever industry you're already working in, and again, help bolster the economy. Equally as well, we also just want to create that diverse network of individuals within the country who can help solve those industry problems as they come up. So even if you go through co-founders and you don't have a startup now, that's something then you'd be equipped for potentially in the future. So it's kind of about creating that hotbed of entrepreneurship. But the program itself, who are we looking for? Co-Founders is an entrepreneurship program for anyone interested in early stage startups. So there's 3 types of people we want. We're looking for people with an idea, but need a team to make it happen, who don't have an idea, but have a skill set that they could lend to others. And we also allow teams to apply. So, Co-Founders is really early stage. It's okay if you just have an idea and you don't know what to do next. This is just kind of a bit of blue sky thinking. You really think you've got an idea for a problem that needs solved, but you don't know where to go. And you don't even need to have the technical ability. That's the whole point of co-founding teams. It's about coming together with diverse mixes of people that can help make those ideas a reality. And equally in terms of the skill sets that people come on board with, it's a really wide range. We open the program out to industry and to university. So we have undergrad students coming in, postgraduate students coming in, PhDs, and you'll hear from Toya today in our discussion. She came in with a PhD in chemistry. And we also have academic researchers coming in too. They all mix together and equally mix with the industry experts we have coming in, and you'll again hear from some of those in our chat later on today. So you can start to understand those different perspectives and skill sets that people come in with. And the skill sets range from everything from research to marketing to design to engineering. It's a big range. So it's really open to anyone and everyone who is passionate about getting involved in the startup world. So key dates, I think it's worth outlining this quite early stage. Number 1 is to highlight our deadline, because it's the 8th of February. So if you are interested by what you hear today, get your application in ASAP, and it's a very quick application. It takes 15 minutes. And then it's worth outlining the other dates because it starts to sort of highlight the format of the program. So we have a Hot House weekend, which you can see is just the 19th of February is Friday evening, and then the 20th is Saturday morning, a design boot camp, and I'll say a little bit more about these in a moment. And then the core program is every Monday night. So the key takeaway here is that this is a part-time program, and it's designed to be done alongside full-time study or full-time work. And most people who go through the program are in that position. So if you've got a side hustle that you want to develop, if you've got an idea about how you might develop out some research or an idea to move that potentially into a full-time job, this is a way that you can engage with that in a very low risk environment, because it's a free program, you're not spending any money, and you can do it alongside the thing that pays the bills. So the Hot House weekend is where we kick off team formation. As I mentioned, Co-Founders is all about co-founding teams. And so we bring you all on board, you all engage in 1-minute pitches to share your ideas or your skill set. And from there, you can start to think about who you might work with. And we facilitate that as well with lots of networking opportunities. And right now that all takes place online, and we've done 2 cohorts online as well. So we've learned a lot from that experience and have some really great tools and techniques to help that happen in a digital world. And we then move into the Design Thinking Bootcamp. So design thinking underpins the whole program, and so it's worth reflecting on a moment on what that is and how that can benefit you. And I think this is a great quotation from Tim Brown, CEO of IDEO. He says, "Design thinking is a human-centered approach to innovation that draws from the designer's toolkit to integrate the needs of the people, the possibilities of technology, and the requirements for business success." So in short, what he's pointing out there is that with design thinking, we encourage you to come in with your idea, or the team's idea that you're involved in, and to really engage with your user or your end customer. And by doing that, you really understand their problem, which means you can really tweak and create the right kind of solution. You can really tweak your idea. And the outcome of that, or the hope that comes from that, is that there's going to be a market pull. There's going to be a market for your product, as opposed to that being a hard sell coming out the other side. So the program itself then starts off with that inspiration journey, and we focus on that kind of engagement with the user. We then take you through ideation techniques to really get creative about what that solution might be and what your idea might look like. and really look at that quite innovatively and maybe think outside the box before we take you into prototyping and testing. And it's, that sounds like a linear process. It's not quite, because it's very cyclical. You might go into the prototyping and testing, get some feedback, and realize actually we need to look at our solution a little bit more. So again, these points are foregrounding how early stage this program is. It's really about validating your concept. It's validating the idea that you have and knowing that this is a possibility to allow you then to develop through to MVP. So the benefits of the program, because obviously you're all here to find out a bit about the program, what it looks like, and what you stand to gain from it at the end of the day. So I haven't outlined the program there. You can see you'll learn how to engage with design thinking techniques, and they're very industry ready skills. And what you might also find as well going through the program, and certainly this is something we hear through feedback, is that while we give you lots of skills to think about how to develop a startup and ways to go about that, you can also then potentially use some of those skills back in the place of work or study that you're engaging with. So design thinking techniques is one way in which you can do that. We help you engage with customer research, learn how to analyze market needs, prototype and test, validate, and you get pitch practice. So it all takes place online, and there are great benefits from it. Even that pitch practice in terms of presentations in both kind of academic environments, but also in the workplace, we get a lot of feedback that pitch practice is really invaluable. And alongside that, a big aspect of the program is this focus on validation and validating the idea that, well, to state the obvious, that your idea is valid. It's just another way of putting it. But at the same time, we give you access to development workshops, mentoring from entrepreneurs, bookable coaching sessions, and fireside chats with CEOs. And that aspect of the program is really all about creating your startup and understanding what that entails and learning from those who've been there and done it before. And because of that network that we have within Catalyst, because of those different locations, because of the amount of companies and people we have coming to work on our sites every day, we have an incredible resource pool to pull from to bring people in to help you with that learning and development and that track of starting your startup. And post-COVID as well, typically on the program, we do provide access to the Catalyst co-working space, so you can be part of that big kind of creative collaborative hub of that is Catalyst. Obviously right now we can't do that because of COVID, but for our top 5 teams who make it through at the end of the program, we continue to progress them, and you will be given access to our co-working space for a period of time during that progression as well. And moving forward, hopefully we'll have the opportunity to open out co-working space again as well. So a few outcomes from co-founders then is obviously, first and foremost, we want to create those startups, and you can see some examples here of those who've been through our network. And a third of the teams who've been through our network are still together. And the figures on this sheet as well are simply those people who make it through to the very end of the program. We do run the program in 2 sprints. So we do sort of 4 weeks with the pitch at the end of that, and then another 4 weeks with the pitch at the end of that. In each of those pitches, we typically lose 2 to 3 teams, and everybody else then makes it through the demo evening where you can pitch to potentially win that 10K that I'm sure you've all heard of when reading about the program. So, it is in your interest. Number one, I should point out there, you will have a bit of work to do each week between from week to week. So while this is a part-time program, you will have to bear in mind that it takes a certain kind of person, and you need to be able to put that work in outside of the program evening. And we'll hear a bit more from the teams later about how they manage that time commitment. But also, there's great potential to make it at the end. It's worth making that note. But by highlighting that we do get teams that drop out at those earlier stages, you can sort of get a gauge of how many people we have coming through, given that these figures are only for those who've made it to the very end at demo night. And of those teams, they've so far raised 1.5 million in funding. So we're delighted by that, absolutely delighted. But that being said, as I mentioned at the start, you might come out of this without a startup. And so the question remains, what do you stand to gain if you don't come out of it with a startup? And I think it's also important to mention that that's not a failure, that's also a success. If you go through this program and in doing so realize, you know what, this idea is not quite right, or this isn't the kind of team to move forward with this idea, you've done that quickly and without spending money. So you're failing fast, and that's a real positive because you're not wasted time and energy. So if you don't come out with a startup, there are also some benefits to yourself. This is an amazing opportunity to build your network. You will meet incredibly talented and skilled people within your cohort. We're also developing out an alumni platform that we hope lets people collaborate further with previous cohorts of individuals who've gone through the programme. And to give you an example here, on our last cohort that just finished before Christmas, we had one participant who had just sort of gone through a career change, wasn't currently in full-time employment in that area. They got involved with a startup who did make it through to the final 5 and is being progressed further, but simultaneously they met somebody else in the cohort and gained a full-time job out of it. So that's just one way in which that network might work for you. And it also opens you up to the opportunities that there are here in Northern Ireland as well, in terms of what's available and what's out there. Equally, then you have access to that vast network that I've mentioned with regards to Catalyst and our innovation community, and the team are really well placed to introduce you to people that might make for useful mentors for taking your thoughts and your business further. And you'll also have and if you don't create a startup, equally you have access to that space and those people within that space that again can help you kind of broaden your thinking about what's next for you or what opportunities are out there. And you'll also develop your design thinking skill set. And we've seen some people take that back into the industries they're working in, and it's really helped them with their upskilling, professional development, and to be able to contribute really proactively to the organizations that they're within. And we help you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's a space in which growth and development happens. So, you're going to come out of this with some degree of growth. For those of you then who come out with a startup, you'll have a great understanding of that ecosystem, and you've got that chance to win one of 5 10K POC awards. So the long and the short here is that if you have the bit of time, if you have the passion, the excitement and the energy, this is a really supportive space for you to think about starting a startup. And it's a win-win situation. Whatever happens, you'll only gain from it. So I'm going to leave the presentation there. I think there were a few questions came through. Patrick, just before we move on to the chat with Jax, which I'm sure will allow us to get into the meat really of what you can expect from the programme, but hearing from others' journeys. Are there any there that it's worth picking up on now, or Patrick, do you think they'd be best left until the end?
I think we can just leave to the end for the moment.
Perfect, no problem. Well, I'll hand over to Jax.
Okay, thank you, Hannah. We always learn something new every day. That was a really good overview of the programme. So I'd just like to say a big thanks again to our guests for the fireside chat. So we have Toya and Blaine from Lane 44 and Lee and Donovan from Yellow Iron. So this is just going to be an informal kind of Q&A session where we'll hear from you guys just about what your experience was like in terms of, why you chose to join the programme, what it was like going through it, and then how it helped you progress, but also any other kind of skills that you may have used beyond this in your day-to-day jobs as well. So we'll just hear from each of you about why you decided to join Co-Founders in the first place and where you were coming from. So what your background was, because I know there's a broad range within this group. So why don't we start with you, Toya? So what drew you to the programme and what world were you in before you joined?
So I did not come from a business background at all into Co-Founders. I'm just about to finish my PhD. In fact, Friday is my last day. So I started to not panic a little about what I was going to do, but I think throughout my PhD, I'd gained lots of skills from research to presenting. And while I really enjoyed my PhD, I never felt while I was doing it that was going to be my future. I was never going to be an academic, and I never really would have fitted into industry in a lab. So I started looking at other ways that I could, gain more skills, and Co-Founders came up through Queen's. So I thought I would apply. Didn't really know what to expect. Sort of went out on a limb and said I'll apply, and it has been the best choice I ever made, even though I felt that maybe I didn't have the traditional business skills to start off with. I certainly learned them, and with Blaine, he comes from a different background to me. I'll let him explain further, but I think we've complemented each other extremely well, and obviously we're here today as a proper business.
Excellent. Yeah, it would be great to hear more about your story and what that journey was like as we go on. So what about you, Blaine? So what was your reason for joining, and tell us a bit about your experience before Co-Founders?
Yeah, so like I'd already started the business, and we'd we'd attended a few sort of selling events or Christmas gift markets and things, and we'd sold quite a few of our products.
So what, tell us, just for those of us that may not know, so what was the idea that you had come in with, or what was?
So so basically it's a plastic-free razor. So there's, you know, something like 2 billion razors thrown away every year that, you know, end up in landfill, and we'd come across this product and thought there was an opportunity to sort of like bring it to sort of a new audience kind of thing. So yeah, we'd sort of pre-Co-Founders, we'd sort of just sort of went out and bought a load and turned up at a few events, and very quickly realized that they could sell. We'd also managed to get a couple of meetings with buyers from Boots and ASOS at that stage, and it kind of sort of said to me, Flip, there might be something more here than what I'd originally planned, and thought that it would be a good idea to try and find someone that could help sort of progress that to the next level. So it was at that stage then I applied to Co-Founders, which was which was great, but without really any sort of major expectations of what to expect, just because I kind of felt I could really benefit with working with someone to help bring this to where I think it can go, kind of thing.
Excellent. And what about you guys, Donovan and Lee? Donovan, we'll start with you. So what was your experience pre-Co-Founders, and what made you decide to join?
Well, I've got the main experience. So I come from the equipment manufacturing industry and worked in that industry for a number of years. Had no experience of startups, didn't have any real network involved with startups or anything like that. So I came across an opportunity just through work, and I noticed a number of problems just in the construction industry. It's a very traditional industry, so there was a number of potential areas there to innovate just with advances in technology. But for me to do that with no experience in software or the tech side of things, Catalyst was a perfect opportunity for me to, you know, pitch the ideas I had and try and get someone on board that had that skill set to enable me to, you know, take one of these ideas forward.
Excellent. And what about you, Lee? Where did you come from?
So I've been working in IT for about 6 years now, and I've traditionally always traveled. So I'm a product manager and sort of project manager. I've always traveled with work, and sort of since COVID, I found like I've got so much time in the evenings now, rather than, you know, finish work at 6 o'clock and just like, right, what am I gonna do now? And I'd always been intrigued by, you know, developing a company or having a bit of a startup, and friends of mine had actually been on the program the year before, so they'd kind of said, oh, why don't you just go for it? And kind of did listen to a couple of pitches, and kind of Donovan's was the one that sort of intrigued me the most, and now he's stuck with me, unfortunately.
What a great team. And on that note, they say that, you know, being a co-founding team is a bit like being in a marriage, in terms of the amount of time that you're going to spend together and the journey that you go on. So what attracted you to working with each other in that first instance? So we'll go back to the Lane 44 guys. So what was that? What was the catalyst, I suppose, to thinking that this would make a great team?
Well, I guess I think we were probably the first group to go through after the sort of first lockdown, and I think we were expecting to have to do all those pitches in person, and then very quickly that sort of was taken away, so we had to do them online. And I think Toya messaged me pretty soon after that, and we got chatting. But I think what I liked about Toya, she came with an idea that I'd felt Cortex could help move the business forward, and she had the sort of experience and the sort of credentials there that could achieve that idea, you know. So, and that was really what I guess what sort of ticked the right box for me, I suppose.
Yeah. What about you guys at Yellow Iron? What was the thing that drew you together?
I think because I came from the domain experience in the construction industry, I was really looking for someone with that software sort of tech background. And as Blaine says, Lee sort of ticked the boxes for me. He comes from a product management background and has worked in that field for a number of years, and I had great knowledge and he was able to tell me that what we could do with the idea, how we were going to take it forward, how the product would look, potential solutions, what would work, what wouldn't work, and that was absolutely ideal for me. So we were a perfect match. And as you say, it does become like a bit of a marriage. I think we're like an old married couple now by this stage, with the amount of meetings and phone calls we've been on. So most of the time it's all good, but you obviously have different concepts at times as well, but it all goes hand in hand, and it's working out very well so far.
Great. So you both were in teams that had come in with an idea. So, mixture, great combination of skill set and idea. So tell us how that idea evolved as you went through the process. So, there's that 12-week process, the journey of going through the empathizing with the user, coming up with potential solutions, and then working towards validating that solution and coming up with, the start of a prototype. So talk us through the evolution of your idea when you went through that journey. So we'll put it out to the Lane 44 guys. So tell us, what was that like for you?
Our idea, while it didn't completely change, our market changed massively. So initially, we were focused towards men, and then we went, maybe this is more unisex, because we had noticed that there was quite a lot of females buying it, to now it's something like 96% female. So I think it's about allowing yourself to be swayed and be moved, and don't fixate on one idea. Like, you can have an idea, validate it, talk to people, see how that, how it fits in. If it's not the right idea, that's fine, just move on. Nobody's ever going to say, oh, you've changed your idea from the start. This isn't the same business. This isn't what we subscribe to. It's like, it's just about moving, serving your customer, making a really great product, and allow yourself to change.
Excellent. And what about you guys, Yellow Iron? How did your idea evolve?
Well, I think Donovan may say something different, but our team actually originally started with 3 people. And our third co-founder also came from a quantity surveying construction background. So when we had that initial chat, our playing field was literally so wide, and trying to come up with a real unique selling point. So then we kind of, for sort of external reasons, we kind of came down to 2 people, and then it was kind of still around that construction. But coming in with an open mind of how we want to mold, and listening to feedback from your testing and from chatting to people in industry, you kind of developed, okay, well, there is an idea, or there is a potential route to market here. So yeah, that's how we kind of ended up focusing on the actual rental. So construction rentals, first of all. So our plan is to try and test it with that. But then we've also realized that in the future, there's still opportunity to grow in different sectors across agriculture and transportation, because there's still very big industries with similar challenges to what we're currently facing. So I think that's how we've kind of evolved ours.
Yeah, so interesting to hear your experiences, just in terms of, not necessarily just moving on what the product is, but rather the route to commercialization, and really thinking about it from, from a commercial perspective as well. So tell us a little bit about how you find going through the program, the methodology that was used, the design thinking methodology. What did you get from those Monday night sessions and the coaching? So just talk to me a little bit about that. I'll put it over to you, the Lane 44 team again. So how did that help, or what did you get from those sessions and the coaching?
Well, for me, like it was I guess a completely different way to look at a business. I think coming into Co-Founders, as I said, like I pretty much just saw a product and just kind of went for it. And sort of starting through Co-Founders, it was almost like we were almost sort of forced to take a step back and actually go out and speak to customers and try and find what the problem was. When, as Toya says, like, you know, it's completely flipped on its head from selling to men, and now we're pretty much 100% selling to women, you know, and it's that's sort of opened new doors. And I think even within that, then going through and with going through the whole design thinking process, we've discovered other elements. Like, it's not just a plastic-free razor, it actually is, you know, there's other benefits within there. And I think even sort of post co-founders are still on that journey of trying to really discover the sort of niche problem that we're trying to solve. But it certainly started us off on that way of thinking, and it's really progressed the business really. Like, yeah, we're actually selling a lot of products now through our website, which is certainly different to where we were whenever we came in. So yeah.
Great. How did you find the sessions, Toya? How did you find the Monday nights?
I really enjoyed it. I also liked that they were at nighttime, because it did give you that, you know, you can do your work during the day, like your work, and then you had to take that time on a Monday, you know, to step back and think about something new. And I really enjoyed it. And I loved the sessions as well. Super informative, obviously, having never really done anything like that before, and you actually get talked through it. And, you know, you go away into your, like, we breakout rooms and you do some work together. No, I really loved it.
Great. What was your experience like, Team Yellow Iron? Lee, how did you find it? How did you find the Monday night sessions and even the coaching sessions later in the week?
Yeah, so I guess coming from my background, some of that's design thinking process is typically what I would do on a day-to-day basis. But, you know, being remote, working with someone new, also just somebody taking me out of my own comfort zone and, you know, forced me to think differently. Has sort of put a new perception on some of the techniques that we used. Yeah, it was good.
Great stuff. Donovan, what was your experience of it?
I found it really beneficial for me. I do come from like a business background, but the way it was structured and the way to look at the problem and actually define the problem was totally sort of new to me. As Blaine said, I was sort of looking at a product and thinking of maybe only a fraction of the market that was there for it. So the fact that we were able to, you know, create ideas and define solutions and then look at the markets for each of those solutions was a really big thing for me. And then getting to the point where we're actually able to create a prototype, you know, like a very basic prototypes, and see how they look and see how they work, and actually being able to then speak to potential customers and run the prototype past them and give us some more ideas and bring us back again to try and modify it and iterate and keep moving forward to try and get the best, you know, customer fit to the best market fit with the most opportunity.
Great. So, sorry, go ahead, Lee.
All I was going to say was the big part of the design thinking process that I really benefited from was just empathizing. So coming from, you know, having no concept of the construction industry and just really having Donovan's kind of that sort of leading on that, when we were forced to go out and actually talk to people, that's when I started realizing it's just like, okay, this is a problem that really needs solving. And I think that was what really, yeah, helped us focus on it or build up my understanding.
Yeah, so it's interestingly that you talked about it really forced you to, you know, push beyond your comfort zone in many ways, and, you know, going out and having those conversations with potential customers to really explore, is this the right problem? So were there, for the rest of you, were there other ways that the program really pushed you to, you know, beyond your comfort zone, and you had to really kind of be brave? And like, what skills or what techniques or what ways did it kind of force you beyond the comfort zone into your stretch zone?
I think the most difficult thing is probably always is, you know, getting out and forcing yourself to go out and talk to customers, because it definitely does make a difference. You know, it's something that probably pre-co-founders I probably wouldn't have done. But, you know, I think we've seen the value now, and like, even as we mentioned, like, you know, it's something that we're continuing to do, and continuing to try and define that problem a bit further, you know, because, you know, it's the more information you have, the more people you speak to, the clearer the message becomes, that kind of way. So yeah, I think that certainly pushed me outside my comfort zone a wee bit, but it's certainly something that is necessary.
Yeah. So what was the positive stretch for you then, Toya?
I actually like the fact that we got to speak to so many people, and we were forced to speak to so many people, like within the cohort. It broadens your horizons a lot. We literally started at the start of lockdown. We didn't know how online stuff was going to work. So it was a bit sort of weird having these like video chats of people that you'd never even had an introduction to in your life. But no, it was uncomfortable, but I'm definitely 100% comfortable with talking to anybody online now. It's great.
Great. What about you, Donovan?
The major difficulty for me during this was probably doing it during lockdown and trying to actually get speaking to people and potential customers and potential partners and setting up Zoom calls. I'm more used to jumping in the car and driving down the road and landing on someone's doorstep. So trying to navigate all that and trying to get the right information across and back from potential customers, I think sort of stressed me slightly, but it actually worked really, really well because you're able to share your screen, you're able to show them prototypes, you're able to show them how it works, and it actually, I think in the end of it actually was probably better than actually doing it face to face with them. It worked really, really well.
It's interesting. That's an interesting perspective, actually. So would you say that, or what would your thoughts be around the legacy value of some of those tools and techniques and skills after going through Co-Founders? So are there things that you learned that you're applying to your research or your day jobs after the program?
Yeah, for us, I think the fact that we were in lockdown and COVID is here has actually created more of an opportunity for our business, because ultimately our idea is for construction contractors and other end users to book their equipment online, and because it's such a traditional industry, that's quite a change for a lot of potential customers. So the fact that those customers are now using more technology in various parts of their businesses is going to help us big time, and it's also going to allow them to be able to search online easier and be able to do everything online and streamline everything for them just as they're doing in other parts of their business. So it's worked really well.
Excellent. And what about you, Lane 44 team? Any are you applying any of these? What about you, Toya, just in terms of your own PhD research? I know you're wrapping that up now. So has what you learned affected, or have you used it within your own research?
I suppose my research is like a lot different. Like I don't really have to get out and speak to people. I'd say what Co-Founders was actually extremely useful for, and I don't think we actually wouldn't have been able to do it without Co-Founders, getting onto the Propel Accelerator program. That was one of our biggest achievements from this. And the stuff that we learned during Co-Founders is something that we go back to on a daily basis. And anytime that we think that we're getting ahead of ourselves, we always go back, like, we need to empathize with our customer here. Like, we need to speak to them. We need to actually, we have all these mad ideas, like we come up with ideas all the time, but we go back and we say, no, we need to take this back to like Co-Founders level and really look at our customer before we can move on.
Yeah, so on that, where are you at now? So what has your post Co-Founders journey been? What's the next steps for your teams? I know, Toya, you mentioned that you guys have made it onto the Propel program. So tell us a little bit about that, or about what else your goals are and what's next for Lane 44.
So for me, I'm going full time with Lane 44, which I think is going to be another really good step for us. Our Ignite and Propel journey has only just really started. We're into our 3rd week now, and we're on that for the next 6 months. So we're really looking forward to seeing where Lane 44 is going to go. I don't know if Blaine has anything else to add in there.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Yeah, like post Co-Founders, yes, as as Toya mentioned, like we've moved on to that Propel program and things like that. But I guess we're just continuing along the same themes as well. Like since that started at the start of the year, yeah, it's just back to sort of really trying to continue to talk to customers, get more sort of deeper understanding and things like that. So yeah, we've a lot of challenges over the next couple of weeks and months. But yeah, like I think the one thing I guess from off the back of co-founders is that we've really, I guess, proved ourselves that we can sell product. There's just sort of more challenges beyond that we have to keep working towards.
One bite at a time, eh?
Yeah, something like that.
One razor at a time. What about you guys, Lee and Donovan? So what's next for Yellow Iron?
Yeah, so I think we kind of just came off a busy December, busy 12 weeks. We didn't take the foot off, but you know, we're still meeting once a week. But we've just got back into that cadence now. We've kind of incorporated our company, so trying to draw down the funds that sort of Catalyst has given us. We're going for the TechStart NI funding. So we've actually got a pitch next week sometime. And I guess we're a little bit further behind on our journey, and unlike Blaine and Toya, but we're trying to build up a bit of a prototype in the background, and we're also trying to find some commercial off-the-shelf software that will help us sort of get to market quickly, that we can test with, you know, 1 or 2 potential customers, and really learn from that before, you know, we look at investing the money into building something bespoke. And yeah, so that's kind of, I guess, over the next 6 months, that's kind of our objective, is to learn, iterate, test, and then hopefully build something bespoke. And I don't know if Donovan, you want to chip in?
No, I think you've pretty much covered it there, Lee. You know, at the minute, you know, Lee's doing that product side of it, and I'm looking more at the commercial side of it. So I'm looking at potential markets that we're going to tap into, potential customer lists, potential partner lists. And then I'm also doing like a timeline for potential funding. So as Lee said, we're slightly behind. We're in 44 hours, so it's good to, you know, be able to, you know, hear from other teams that have been before us as well, and the journey they were on and the steps they took, because we will hopefully, you know, follow those and be successful just like they have been. So
great. So just a final question to all of you. What would you say to anyone who's thinking about applying to the program? So what was the highlight of co-founders for you? What's the thing that you would say to get people to sign up? Blaine, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'll say, like, I had a sort of a goal in mind, is to find someone that could help move the business forward. And I think there's certainly the cohort that I applied to, there's an awful lot of people, and obviously I was introduced to Toya through that, and since then working through that, you know, the content of the actual program itself is fantastic. You know, it's say, like, I joined without really any expectations, and yeah, it was sort of week by week just became more and more engaged in the process. And then I guess the other thing is, post co-founders, you know, we've continued to have conversations with you guys on a sort of 2-weekly basis or monthly basis, whatever it's been. And you know, the network and things that the people we've been introduced to, and that off the back of that, and the advice that we've got has been sort of invaluable to us, you know. So yeah, there's an awful lot there, from meeting someone through to the post sort of co-founders network and things like that, which I think is great.
Great. Thank you, Blaine. What about you, Toya? What would you say to someone thinking about signing up?
I would say do it, even if you don't think you necessarily have specific skills that you think other people want. You see, whenever you get talking to people, you understand like what problems they have, and you realize that you actually can help. Like, I think in Northern Ireland, we put ourselves down quite a lot, when actually we're really well educated, we can solve problems. It's just we're not good at putting ourselves out there. So I would say put yourself out there and go do it.
Excellent. What about you, Donovan? What would you say? Anyone thinking of signing up?
I would say if you have any thoughts whatsoever about doing it, just go and do it and experience it and take away from it. Whether you get into a team or do a startup, you'll still take something away from it. No matter what industry you're in or what background you're in, there's always a skill set that you can bring forward, and there's always problems in everybody's industry. There's such a need for innovation. So even if you don't have an idea now, going through the process, it might spark off some idea in your head, and it could go somewhere, and you'll meet some very, very good like-minded people.
Excellent. Last but not least, Lee.
I don't know how to follow on from those three. They've already kind of covered it. I'll say something. So buy the ticket, take the ride. It's pretty much like always a good turn of phrase. It's a safe space for you to take that idea and test it out and try it. Learn from the experience, draw on the experiences of other people, and you'll meet some fantastic people along the way, and you'll get all the support you need. People are kind of, I know Jacqueline, you've been on a couple of calls with us late at night sometimes, but yeah, so it's a really good experience, and yeah, give it a go.
Excellent. Thank you so much, guys. It was really great to hear your experiences, and thanks for being so open and so willing to share. We are going to hand it over now we're going to open the floor for questions, I believe, which Patrick, I guess you're going to kindly manage this piece.
Yes, indeed. There was a few housekeeping questions that have been asked earlier on. So just while I answer these, if anybody wants to quickly type in the chat, and we can pick up afterwards. Keelan had asked specifically about workspaces. Usually workspace would last for the duration, but as you know, we do have COVID restrictions at the moment, and there isn't any access to buildings at the moment. If lockdown restrictions were to change or shift in any capacity, then we could see about making space available, and we will keep you informed as we go along, but we are a little bit tied up in that regards at the moment. But a question from Garrett in relation to border counties. Yep, absolutely. You're more than welcome to apply. The only thing we ask is that the business has some sort of a footprint in Northern Ireland. And to receive the funding at the end of the programme, the business would need to be set up within Northern Ireland as well, just to make sure that that's very clear. Tanya, you'd asked about teams. Yes, you can bring in additional team members in rare instances. Although naturally, we do prefer that to the best of your ability, you work with the talent pool that is available within co-founders, or if there's someone you know that skills you want, that you invite them to apply to co-founders as well. Even if it would wind up being a late application, we can still work with that. Questions to the panelists that we've had arrive so far. There's one from Keelan. I'm not sure he wants to pick this up, but when we speak about a business changing within the route to commercialization, we spoke about a business changing within the route to commercialization. However, it was mentioned not to fixate on one idea. Would you recommend concentrating on one key selling point and then possibly expanding on this? If anybody wants to dive in with their co-founders.
Yeah, so I can take this one. So Keelan, the thing that we always really urge teams to think about at the start of the co-founders journey is, are you solving the right problem? So rather than really focusing on, is this the right idea? It's start with the right problem. And then from that, it should allow for multiple solutions to be generated. And what we would then urge people to do is another round of testing in terms of which one of these ideas has most potential to answer this unmet human problem. So as part of that process, teams could quite often end up with 2 or possibly even 3 ideas that sort of sit within the same space, but they're answering different needs. So through that validation process, it then becomes very apparent very quickly which idea is the one that they should focus on and take forward to work towards building out the start of a prototype to get to the end of that co-founder's journey. So it's not that we would say you have to be fixed on one idea. Indeed, if you come in with an idea, what often happens is that this idea kind of morphs and changes as that testing happens through the process. So I'm sure, as both teams can attest to, the center of gravity of the idea might be the same, but actually the execution of it or indeed, you know, the way in which they go after certain target groups of consumers may change. So I don't know if any of the teams, if you have anything to add to that. No?
I suppose from our point of view, look, like our product's always been a plastic-free racer, but yeah, as we say, like it's just that sort of core idea has never changed. But yeah, as you say, like last year we were selling to men, this year we're selling to women, you know, so the actual people who we're selling to has completely changed. And so yeah, some things around the messaging and different bits like that. But yeah, the sort of core central idea hasn't really changed at all.
Great.
Cool. Here's a question, and I'm gonna maybe ask a little bit of an expansion question, and I'm gonna direct this to you, Jax, because I think you may be the best person to answer. From Paul Brewster, is a physical prototype required a required deliverable from co-founders, or is a virtual drawing of a product or a specification for customers suitable? I'm gonna add a little bit on to the end of that question as well. And if you don't have the physical prototype available, what extra advice would you give when it comes to pitching that product?
Yep, great question, Paul. So quite often we talk about, you know, working towards a prototype through the co-founder's journey. But actually, what I think is more likely that you'll get to by the end of it is a brief for a prototype. So I know the teams all end up at kind of different stages. So it's quite likely that most teams will have some sort of quick and dirty, you know, sketches or a paper prototype, or perhaps a mock-up of some screens if it's a technology product. So it's not a requirement for you to have a physical prototype. And if you walk away from co-founders with the brief for a prototype that can be built out beyond co-founders, then that's, you know, that's a successful outcome.
Good question. We did have a little Q&A question asked, which was, can a team be involved with 2 programs simultaneously, say co-founders and TechStart? Yes, absolutely. And we've had people involved in multiple programs before. It's absolutely fine. It tends to be that we have a very good, diverse selection of things in Northern Ireland that will, you know, do different things, either introduce you to co-founders or maybe take you further along in business plans, and you're more than welcome to do them simultaneously.
And actually, what often happens with the teams that graduate from co-founders is that they would often apply for TechStart funding. So we would get them to, or they would get themselves to the stage where they are ready to go after that further funding opportunities with the likes of TechStart or Innovate UK or other industry specific pots of funding. So that is something that many teams have experienced themselves coming out of co-founders.
I did have one final question. If anybody has anything else, we do have 7 minutes left, so please feel free to ask anything you want in the chat. Did have one question that was sent to me anonymously, so I will not say the name, but I think it is a fantastic question, and I am going to level it to the teams that were from co-founders previously. Do you feel as much self-doubt as I feel? You guys seem way ahead of where I am. I think it's absolutely awesome. Go for it.
Yes.
Yeah. I think if you looked at what we were literally this time last year, it was a very different story. But the support and everything that we've gained through co-founders has helped us get here today. Like, without a doubt, we wouldn't be here today without them.
Lovely.
Yeah, seconded. See, just the ability to bounce ideas off people, and you may be heading down one road, and all of a sudden you get to a bend, and next thing you know, you're taking a whirlwind, sort of, halfway from where you started off. But yeah, no, it's been a challenge, but it's been rewarding as well.
Perfect. I think that might be it in terms of any further questions, unless somebody is frantically typing. No, here we go. Yes, we did get one. It's from Tanya. Did you find it difficult to have day jobs and attend co-founders and work on your ideas and startups at the same time? Yeah, that is actually a great question. Go fire away, guys.
There is a bit of work involved with it when you're doing the day job as well, but Co-Founders is very, very flexible. So you're doing everything, you're doing the full program on a Monday evening. So you finish work and you log on and it's 2 or 3 hours on a Monday evening. And above and beyond that, everything's flexible around your work. So your meetings, your coaching meetings, and your other team members meetings, everybody's very, very flexible. So if you have a day job, I wouldn't let that put you off. I would just go for it as well. So
Just to follow on from Donovan, I think we were meeting sometimes, we would continue on after Co-Founders ended on a Monday night, or, we'd catch up before work started, or we'd catch up after work ended, even throughout the week. And if if the beckoning call came on a Saturday morning, I wouldn't not pick up to him, but we'd maybe have 15 minutes over a coffee.
Perfect. A couple of housekeeping questions then. Any advice for folks in terms of how to prep for a Co-Founders interview?
I'll take that one. Just to give you a bit of context on what to expect from the interview. It's very informal, and maybe someone on the teams would like to testify to that. It's very informal, as any of you who have already applied know. It's sort of a 15-minute application, and particularly in this digital world, we haven't had a chance to meet yet. So it's about us kind of understanding you. You can bring any questions to us. It's 15 minutes long, and it gives us a chance as well to see what kind of people we have coming through, so we can get an idea of potential teams that might form, because we want to make sure there's a really good balance and you will get out of this program what you put in, and that you will get a lot from it. So it's a getting to know you type thing. It's not going to be a really structured intimidating affair. So just come with that open sense of mind, and if you're coming with an idea, a passion to share it, or if you're coming with the skill set, just that sense of kind of believing in yourself, really.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. We've one from Karen, which is, does the program help formalize agreements between teams if they proceed? I'm presuming in that capacity you mean agreements in relation to shares or something like that?
Yeah, I can take that one, Patrick. So we would certainly give people some pointers on creating partnership agreements and so on. And we can signpost people towards companies that can help them formalize that relationship. But it's not something that you wouldn't typically be at that stage, just coming off the back of Co-Founders. So we will continue to support teams that are on that journey, and we can help them navigate that at the point at which they're ready.
No worries. I think Lee needs to drop off at this point, which is no problem at all. Lee, thanks very much for sticking with us today.
Thanks so much, Lee.
Thanks very much. See you later.
See ya.
Thanks, Lee. Bye.
Kaelan, with the interview being informal, it says there's nothing need to prepare. This must be a trick question. No, I'll tell you that. A trick question. It's because the interview is very much to do with you and your personality and your mindset coming in. I think we've spoken to a lot of you guys already. And if we haven't spoken to you, maybe we'll get around to speaking to you. We're very much looking for people that are coming in with ideas that are very flexible, able to learn, willing to work with the product and willing to work with the teams. And we do decline people if we think that there might not be a fit or a mindset fit in some cases. So no trick questions, we promise.
Yeah, and I think the other point to mention there is, to a certain degree, if you are coming in with an idea, maybe just bear in mind our criteria for Co-Founders, which is about innovation and high growth potential. So have a think about that, and you'll be able to share that context with your idea when you come to interview with us.
Great. We're coming up to the last minute, so I'm going to stop questions there. However, if you do have anything pressing, you can feel free to get in touch with us directly. Hannah's very kindly linked in the Co-Founders webpage. You'll find the application form there. You'll find our email address there, and you'll find a way to book calls with myself and Hannah there as well if you want to ask for more information. The deadline for the applications is going to be the 8th of February, I believe, so if you could get them in before then. And we are doing batching of interviews already, so some of you will have maybe received one, and some of you will maybe receive one very quickly. So the sooner the better, to be honest, because we've got hundreds to go through. With that in mind, I'll thank everybody for joining. Thanks to Lee, who's gone. Donovan, Toya, Blaine, super appreciate having you guys here to share your experience, and similar to the rest of the Catalyst team with me here today, and of course to everybody who joined us. Really appreciate you coming along. And
Thanks,
with that,
everyone.
Thank
we're gonna
you.
get into
Bye. Take care. We'll hopefully see you all soon.
Hope to see you soon.
Thanks.